Hi, César.
Hola, buenos días.
Buenos días. Y- Hola, Marta.
Hola, buenas. ¿Qué tal?
Hi.
Bien, ¿tú qué tal?
Bien, bien. No, the seminar must be in English. Is okay?
Yes.
Yes. Just a reminder. Okay, so if it's okay, we are in time, so let's start. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second session of the SUSRUR training program. Before we officially start today's session, I'd like to take just a moment to remind you a few key points about the SUSRUR training program. First, this is a series of 5 webinars covering important topics such as digital transformation, oh my God, circular economy and sustainability. And second, the webinars are held every Tuesday at 12 p.m. And they are running until June, 3rd of June, if my memory is right. And third, if you attend at least 4 out of the 5 seminars, you will receive a certificate of participation. And finally, all the webinars are being recorded and will be made available on the SUSRUR website, so you'll be able to revisit the content and catch up if you need. And about the speakers, today's seminar is titled Clean and Just Energy Transition, the key role of local communities, and we are honored to count on the participation of our top-level experts today, and they are César Valmaseda, who is a European project technician at the Asturian Energy Foundation, and he specializes in digital, green, and just transition with extensive experience in EU programs. And he contributed to projects like Plan for Coal, is okay? Plan for Coal, focusing on climate adaptation and sustainable energy planning in rural areas. And he will present it in collaboration with Patricia Zapico and Marta Ferrer, that they are together there in the square, who are joining us from the Fundación Ciudad de la Energía, a public foundation committed to sustainable development and energy transition in Spain. And Marta Ferrer, also part of the Spanish Just Transition Institute, where they contribute to implementing fair and inclusive strategies for territories affected by the shift away from carbon-intensive industries. Am I right? And that's all on my part, nothing more to add, just that I leave the floor to you, our speakers. So, welcome.
Thank you very much, Olaya. The sound is okay. Can you hear me well? Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
we can hear.
So thank you very much for this kind invitation to participate today with all of you around this interesting project talking about sustainable rural activities, specifically talking about tourism. So this is quite relevant, in our region, in Asturias. So I'm happy. I think that we are happy talking about that now today. So I try to share my screen and try to share my presentation. Okay. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
And I don't know if you are seeing the presentation mode or you are seeing,
We are seeing the presentation mode.
yeah?
Yeah. Let's check. No,
Okay.
sorry.
So I'm trying to manage in order to be able to see you at the same time. Okay. Sure that you are seeing the presentation mode?
Right now, we are not seeing anything.
You are not seeing anything?
No.
Yeah. Okay, try again.
Yeah, now it's perfect.
You are
Yeah.
seeing now the presentation mode, right?
Just the presentation, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Without the next slide or anything, just the presentation.
Okay, perfect. So I'm trying to try to see you also, all of you, just the case you have. Yes, I would like to say that please, if you have any question in the way, just raise your hands or directly ask. We'll be happy to answering your points in the middle of the presentation. So don't worry about that. So first of all, I would like to share that now we are trying to split to share this presentation with the Just Transition Institute. Probably you know that this institute is in charge of manage the transition, the just transition mechanisms, in particular in Spain and in particular in Asturias, as far as Asturias is one of the just transition region in Spain. So before let me just try to explain slightly with this FAEN. FAEN, as Olaya said, is the Energy Asturian Foundation, mostly works like the Asturian Energy and Climate Agency. So we are the regional energy agency in Asturias, and we work like a public body attached to the public administration, specifically close to the DGNR of the government of Asturias. We are a not-profit institution. Our main goal is try to support the promotion, execution of action around energy and climate topics in all areas in the Asturias society. We are around 70 employees, and our premises, our headquarters are in a former coal mine in Mieres. So try to represent this green transition in a coal region. Our main activities is try to support, advise our policymakers, our public authorities in these topics about energy. Also try to support the region in the preparation of the energy models, regional energy models, and the assessment analytics reports. We are trying to support also from the technical and economical support to any entity in the region. Also, the industrial sites and especially the SMEs. I think that probably most of you today attending this workshop are SMEs, specifically around the tourism domain. So we are used to collaborate with you, supporting in these technical and economical aspects. Also, we try to go further to the community, to the whole community, try to create this dissemination, guidance, information about energy, not only to the public administration, also to the citizens, people. And additional, last but not least, we are quite close to research and innovation programs, try to prepare and work in collaboration consortia in this kind of innovation and research projects. Now, I would like to say a few words about Asturias. Asturias is a region in the north of Spain with 1 million of inhabitants, and basically what is relevant here, talking about energy or talking about clean and just transition is that Asturias, the energy model is based on coal. This means that the energy transition process or the green transition process may be slightly different that in another kind of region where the coal is not so the big of coal is not so big. Also, being a coal-based region means that the is industrial regions, where it's around 20% of the growth value added comes from the industrial activity in the region. This means that the industrial decarbonization always will be a priority to the region, you know? And this is a point to have into account when you need to manage another sector, another activities in the region. Industry like steel industry, cement, ceramic, chemical, are all of them in Asturias. So this, we don't forget that this decarbonization issue is going to be a prioritization to our policymakers, to our policy instruments. So talking about the policy instruments, we can manage in between two, the energy and just transition strategy. I think that here is where we need to find out or search our the measure defined by the region for us as tourism sector, as SME, and also the climate adaptation plan. Taking this into account, we can identify into this policy instrument different actions. Like for first point, we don't forget that we have a core region in transition, means some peculiarities about the action. Like the first one, we like to highlight the industrial decarbonization, topics like carbon capture or with zero recovery. Also, the hydrogen is relevant topics and projects talking about hydrogen. So if you are in a just transition region or a coal region, probably these topics should be in your environment, in your context also, including mobility and transport, like sustainable and resilient mobility. And now we go in deep or go further to another kind of initiatives like or action measure like energy efficiency. And we find out here the energy efficiency first principle. We try to explain that first action should be focused on reduce the demand of our activities. Talking about buildings, districts, or cities, neighborhoods. The first topic shall be regenerate, renovate buildings, maybe to reduce the demand of that. And paying attention to the social housing because it's quite related to the energy poverty rates, let's see, in the region. Also, action like renewables or bioeconomy have to be into consideration, especially for us in this webinar, because I think that apart from energy efficiency activities, we can also pay attention to different renewable technologies like PV systems, geothermal or district heatings. And about bioeconomy, we consider that biogas, biomass are quite close to us in the rural, environment. So this kind of energy should be a plus, try to integrate in our activities. And also I would like to highlight here just the concept of communities, local energy communities, because especially we were talking about rural areas. This concept of communities could be quite relevant in order to manage specific actions oriented to the transition or the green transition in our business, in our companies. All of them, always we need to put, apart from the digitalization at the IT system, which could be a plus and some advantage, provide some advantage to our business. We need to consider that the people should be just in the center and action related to social innovation, engagement, citizen participation should be very relevant. When we talk about this map of action, this is what we can find in our policies. So our policymakers could be try to prioritize this kind of topics in the region, and we have to, as owned entrepreneurs or just SMEs, we to pay attention where we can find what action finding in our regional plans or in our regional strategies can support our own business. And in this case, I think that talking about talking about rural tourism, SMEs, I think that these ballots could reflect where we can need pay attention. It's about energy efficiencies, renewable, considering biomass or biogas, and also could be interesting the concept of community in order to manage this shared experience or shared investment on specific plans, specific projects. But when we move around to one, let's see, core region like Asturias, and probably because the topic of today just not only green transition is green and just transition. Probably some of you are also coming from this core region. Apart from the energy and climate strategies, we need to pay attention to another political instrument. Because just the case for Asturias, the just transition process is extremely important for our culture and for our industry and productive sector and citizens. Just one date is that around 58 of 78 municipalities in Asturias are directly affected by the closure of mining activities or the phasing out of thermal power plants, which means representing approximately 90% of the population of the region. So the impact is big. So apart that, we for sure understand the relevance of the green transition process, how relevant this transition is. We have also to pay attention to the social aspects, and we understand quite well the rationale behind the concept of just transition mechanisms. And this is what happened here in the middle, that we have to pay attention to our just transition plans, territorial just transition plans, because are also in the middle of our equation. So when we analyze potential action in our region, we have to take into account that the extractive industry usually create in the past plenty of employments, but also attract the construction of thermal power plants, creating additional employments. So, because these thermal power plants attract the attention of the electron-intensive industry. So this is the map of regions based of coal, like Asturias. So the point is that when the coal mines closure and the thermal power plants closure, the electricity industry also become in a risk. So here are the numbers. Just one example, in 1985, we have in Asturias 26,000 employees, workers in the mine, and now is less than 1,000. And the electricity or the energy provided by our thermal power plants around 35%. This is very big numbers, so is what there is the reality of the region like Asturias. So when we talk about this transition, we mean that we need to remove these thermal power plants and this extractive industry. This is the one of the transition, but we need to pay attention about another transition, about a second, let's see, transition. And usually these kind of regions like Asturias are not only a core region because the industrial coal mining activity, but also because the feeling of people. And in Asturias and probably in your region also, it's not easy to find families without parents or relatives without working in the mine. So this is quite important for that in order to appreciate two different kind of narratives. The first lead by Europe and upscale it to our policymakers about the green transition, about the Green Deal, and we have able to find a second narrative. We talk about people and the feelings of people about this green transition, and maybe losing some employees and this kind of histories about that. So the question in this sense is just what are people saying about the green transition and what is the opinion of the people about the transition process, right? And what is their feeling about that? So this is important in order just to know in some areas like were affected also by the demographic challenge, how this narrative can impact in the people and specifically in our projects, in our initiatives. Because yes, one example here in Asturias is that one have a social science studies entity working in vulnerable groups, have a survey about the opinion of young people on the just transition in Asturias. So one of the question in this survey was, what do you like to be when you are adult? And the answer of young people in this survey, the top three answer was be retired first, living by subsidies second, and leaving the region. So taking this into account, you have to pay special attention in these demographic challenge affected regions about what is the narrative conducting this feeling in people. And the way we consider to change these ideas or these narratives is try to involve people in the loop, because the green transition is not only based of big project, big investment. Also, we need to involve people in the loop, entertainment, also SMEs in this action of decarbonization action. So how we can engage people in the loop. So to this regards, we consider that if we ask people where they feel enough confidence to promote ideas, to promote projects, maybe to a European level, national level, including regional level, they don't feel enough confident to promote, to involve themselves in the loop. But if we go down the scale toward local communities, we may find the proper environment where the people will okay to promote ideas and projects. So this is the relevance for us or the importance why the local communities as ecosystem that could facilitate the citizen participation. Because could be a good environment to involve people, citizens in the energy transition, because the ecosystem, the neighbors are closer to them to promote their activities. And this is the case of the situation of the local communities and the rural communities in our case. So FAEN was participating in a European project like this, like SUSRUR, talking about just transition, the just transition process, focus especially in energy poverty and how to engage people in the loop of the green transition. Like, I think that all of you are interested to do it. So we was organizing some citizen workshop around this project. We organized a workshop in each of our former coal basins in the three valleys in Asturias, coal valleys, former valleys, and we obtained this workshop organized and entitled like the role of citizen in the just transition process. This workshop has two objectives. The first one is try to close citizen to the message from our policymakers, directly from them about the green transition in Asturias, the green and just transition in Asturias. And the Just Transition Institute was also accompanying this workshop like today. But also maybe the most important point from this workshop was just try to listen in first hand the reflection and opinion of citizens, local business, SMEs, associations, listen their histories and listen their opinion about the green transition, of what kind of project ideas they have to promote in the business, village, parochies, and this kind of environment. So from this workshop, we gained three important pieces of information. The first, for me at least, the most important for me at least, was the history. We received the popular narrative, which is very interesting to know what are the thinking and feeling from people in these cold basins. And also we obtained a set of ideas of interest about projects, what kind of projects and we like to promote, and somehow what, because the policymakers both was in front of them, some kind of recommendation, just try to share potential recommendation to our policymakers directly about their opinion, because sometimes in the rural areas, sometimes in citizens are able to see big projects, big investment, but sometimes they are not able to identify or feel that sorry, 30 minutes is my alarm that we talk during 30 minutes. I think that in 10 minutes, Patricia, Marta, I finish, okay? So both pieces are very relevant. Also, recommendation and potential projects initiatives was collected from this citizen participation workshop. So for me, the most important was the first one, the popular narratives, their narrative, because I think that this is important to understand, because the sentiments of people are behind this narrative. And because sometimes if we are not able to identify that there exist two different narratives, the green transition narrative and the popular narrative, and we discovered that both narratives can be in conflict or can diverge, which is very bad point when the policymakers and people are not going in the same direction of the project managed by the policymakers, and the sentiments of citizens are not in the same way. So the first point is just try to identify how far both narratives are in order to find out the way to join or convert both narratives in the same direction, in order to fit ones by the other, in order to find out or achieve the support of citizens, the creation of initiatives by citizens, by SMEs in this process. And for that, we need citizens participating in the loop. We need citizens promoting projects and ideas, not only policymakers and big players. So this is the main conclusion we obtained from this project, okay? And it's the reason why the concept of communities or local communities are become very relevant for us, because it's where we consider that citizens are able to promote projects and ideas, especially if I am a own citizen or one is me or one touristic, let's see, apartment or hotel or any business around that. And this is the reason why FAEN was supporting also this concept of communities. Also, FAEN was recognized the National Community Transformation Office for the promotion of these kind of entities, the energy communities. So we are acting like a one-stop shop, which is for me is quite relevant because we can support in our region. I try to just, share this with you because probably you are coming from different regions around Europe. And these mechanisms, these instruments, I think that is quite relevant to support by this kind of specific services to people, not only big players, let's see, in the implementation, not only implementation, also maybe ideation, implementation of any kind of projects. Because not only can be able to offer services, also we can accompany the process from the ideation to the implementation to the monitoring of the project, trying to full the alignment with the regulation, but not only with the regulation, also with the funding, public funding behind the regulation, because usually behind the regulation appear specific funding to support these action plans and also to promote big, not big, just specific example of projects, namely like lighthouse initiatives where we can learn or imitate, reproduce, replicate in other places. So we are able to provide technical, financial, legal, and governance support, which is quite interesting for any initiative you have. And I think that this help desk or one-stop shop a good instrument in our regions, in your regions, to support people and not big industry, including local authorities in the preparation of this kind of project. We have some examples here in Asturias, but maybe have not important. They are promoting projects by themselves, supported by us. And also, I think it's my last slide, how these local communities can support local tourist business. And moving forward, the PV system, we consider that our prioritization of actions, what kind of projects you can promote in your business, we have to pay special attention to the energy efficiency first principle, which means that please don't spend your money in renewables or in another kind of action before to reduce your demand, because as low was your demand, your energy demand, less facility plans, additional costs you have to invest. So please, first action oriented to reduce the demand. And this not only talk about building renovation, means that not only talk about walls, roof, windows, which is very relevant, we are also talking about alternative heating systems with higher levels of performance, like heat pumps supported by PV is very interesting. Also, a heat pump supported by geothermal is very interesting, or supported by district heating, not big district heating or municipal district heating, sometimes small district heating like a biomass boiler feeding 3-4 buildings in the village could be a good example of district heating, providing a good alternative to our conventional heating system. And for sure, more efficient appliances will be a priority because are quite aligned to the energy efficiency first principle, and we are reducing our energy cost. And also, once we cover this part, the energy efficiency, we can jump to the support of our invoices by renewable energy. And we need not only, for sure, the PV is a very nice system. with a small, very reduced return of investment rates. But we have also pay attention to another kind of resources in our local areas, because maybe we have a small hotel in the mountains, and or we are not in a very sunny area. We can find out another kind of renewable energy resources like mini hydro or biomass, which can be perfect option for our business. Also, talking about sustainable tourism, the mobility and transport, because sometimes the parking is a real problem in the small village, rural areas. Sharing resources for mobility and transport could be a good option to promote in our local area, but maybe this is go forward our business, let's see, is more focused on the local community action. So we can aggregate in between more than one business, more than one hotel, or just to the local level, this kind of sharing resource for mobility or transport and another kind of action. And specifically, all of these actions will be managed by this kind of social innovation, try to engage people and try to engage the public participation, because sometimes we can find out that nice projects with small return of investment rates, very wind, very nice. We can find the opposition of associations, the citizen association, or the opposition of the public authorities to the promotion of this. So I think that this aspect, try to engage people from the beginning in this project, could be a plus in order to facilitate the definition and implementation and investment in the former steps. And I think that that's all from my side. Just only that to say that FAEN is collaborating with several European projects. So all of these, lesson learned are coming from several experience in renewable and energy efficiency projects in the European context. And that's all from my side. And I think that now Patricia and Marta are going to share with you some specific ideas, specific initiatives, and examples about funded projects from the Just Transition Funds, from the Just Transition Institute, around SMEs and specifically in tourism. So I think that now the best is, I don't know if you have any question, or just we can jump to the second part of the session. Now I try to.
Maybe we can jump to the second part and leave the questions for the end.
Okay.
So I leave to share my screen. So
I'm trying to share the screen right now. Just a moment. No sé cómo, a ver. Aquí. Vale, aquí está. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Am I still sharing or? Oh.
You're sharing the PowerPoint view, the full with the archivo in it insertar.
Okay, perfect.
First.
Okay.
Good morning. I introduce us. She is Marta Ferrer, and I am Patricia Zapico from Energy City Foundation. We work from Just Transition Institute or Spanish government. We would like to thank Jorge Pérez Barrio from Espacio Tormaleo and César Valmaseda from Asturias Energy Foundation for inviting us to take part in this event. Just Transition Institute work for revitalize the areas where the coal central power and mines have been closed. Most of these territories are rural areas, and there are a lot of tourists. Now, Marta explains you the different lines of aids and explains of projects. Thanks, Marta. Will you can start now?
Hello, everyone. Like Marta, like Patricia mentioned. Okay, so like Patricia mentioned, the Just Transition Institute is working to try to mitigate the heavy socioeconomical impacts that the closing and shutting down of the mines and the coal power plants are having in Spain. In order to do that, it set in motion several mechanisms and instruments. For example, it launched agreements between trade unions, companies, and governments, and it's also designated as 15 priority areas all around Spain, which include the municipalities that have been most heavily affected by this transition. In Asturias, right now we have 3 of said priority areas, and one of them is the most southwestern part of Asturias. Overall, in the global of Spain, the Just Transition Institute has launched several lines of action in order to try to revitalize all these areas. On this presentation, I'm only going to focus on the lines of actions that have concrete examples of of projects or initiatives that might help rural tourism, which are well, specifically in Asturias, which are the different funding aids to support local business projects and to support municipal and infrastructure projects. Also, the Just Transition electric grid tenders, as well as the environmental restoration of the mines, and another program which we didn't include here, which is a cultural program called Dinamizar TJ. Okay, so like I was saying, the Just Transition Institute is working to restore the sites where the open pit coal mining was happening. We're trying to regenerate the nature in these areas, and also in the first phase of this process, we've had counseling with the communities in these areas in order to learn their needs and to see and to find ways in which find the new uses in which we can benefit these communities maximize the benefit for these communities. In Asturias, yeah.
Excuse me. I don't know if you are passing the slides because
Yes.
we are seeing the first one.
You're only seeing the first one, okay? This is
Yeah.
I was.
We are not seeing the presentation mode. We are seeing the PowerPoint mode. So we are in the same. Seeing the at least me. I don't know, Olaya.
Yeah,
or
I'm still in the first slide. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if I can. Okay.
Because I was supposing that you was advancing in the presentation, at least the relat.
Okay. Here. Okay. This is what I was looking for. Okay, so this is what I was looking for. I don't know why this is. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Share. No. Can you see the slide now?
Now it's in presentation mode. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, so I'm going to go maybe back. Can you okay, I can't see what you're okay. I think we're gonna have this. I'm gonna try going to the next slide to see if, please tell me if you can see the next slide or if it's frozen in the same one. Can you see the next slide, or is it still in the restoration?
Yeah. We now promoted the PRO and economical diversification.
Okay, perfect. How do I go back? Okay, and now I'm back to the environmental restoration, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. As I was saying, the Just Transition Institute is working to restore these open pit areas in order to close down the scars left in the landscape. And also they're trying to use this opportunity to create a space that will benefit, a space that will benefit the communities in these areas, which is why in the first phase of this process, they consulted with their needs and the ideas that they had in order to give new uses to these mines. Also, some of these projects, some of the actions involved include making the area safer by stabilizing the soil, restoring the water course. They are also working on reforestation with local trees, and well, all of this, and some of the new uses that they are going to give to this area is for recreational purposes. They are going to create a green path, natural paths in different and they're going to have different initiatives to promote rural tourism. One of these projects is Espacio Termaleo. We were going to mention Jorge, but unfortunately he couldn't join us because I think he knows more about this project. But it's basically an initiative to transform one of these mines, the Termaleo mine in Ibias, into a space that will host cultural events and tourism-related activities. Okay, so basically, we'd also like to mention one of the financial aid lines to promote entrepreneurs and to promote the economical diversification of the area. So the thing is, one of the key goals of the Just Transition Institute is to compensate for the jobs lost in the phasing out of the coal industry, and that's why we're trying to promote new a diversification of the area, new small businesses. And one of the methods in which we're doing this is by financing new businesses. Right now, in Asturias, we've already financed 194 projects related in this line. They are related to circular economy, agro-industry, manufacture, social services, and of course, there's rural tourism initiatives. Most of these initiatives in this line of action, most of the initiatives are related to housing, to the restoring houses in order to create hostels or building new hostels from scratch. We have two examples here. One of them is Casa Lelu in Villaviciosa, and the other one is a housing complex inspired in a Hobbit-like image, you know, Hobbit houses image like. But there's also camping sites. I'd also like to note, housing aside, I'd like to note a project I personally like, which is the creation of a classroom for ecological education in an organic farm, which is a project belonging to a cheesemaker brand, from a local cheesemaker brand. Also, I'd like to note that there is going to be a new call for applications soon, and this is an opportunity if anyone wants to start a business right now. So that's that. Another funding line of action which involves subsidiaries is the local infrastructure and municipal project line I mentioned before. The aim of this line of action is to improve the quality of life of the communities that in these municipalities. The actions taken, the projects approved in this line of actions include the improvement of roads and the water systems, but there's also sorry, I need to figure out how to say this. There's also a more social aspect to these aids, which involve trying to create wider offer of entertainment and culture in the region. Some of these, I'm going to mention 4 of these. Sorry, there's 2. I forgot to mention there's 2 lines to fund these municipal projects. One of them is one of these lines was meant for all the old mining regions in Asturias, and the second line is meant only for the priority areas in Asturias. In the first line of funding, I wanted to mention 4 examples. One of them is the upgrade of a tourist trail that leads to an old mining pit, the San Fernando mining pit, and the transformation of the mining shaft into a viewpoint for tourists. There's also a project to create a cable car in order to seasonalize a ski resort that called Valgrande de las Pajares in Asturias, so that it can also be used during the summer. We also created, they also built a camping, which in the presentation I'm mentioning that it's a caravan camping, but it's just a normal camping for caravans and for tents in Sobrescobio. And there's also with this aid, we also funded a startup incubator, which is mainly focused on rural businesses. In the second line of funding of directed to just transition priority areas, I wanted to I wanted to mention these 4 projects. One of them is another upgrade of another nature trail, La Pipiona, which is also a mining trail. Also, the installment of charging station at the car park in a famous hiking at the start of another famous hiking trail. Also, the refurbishment of the building to transforming into a public hostel, which will be along the Camino de Santiago. It's for pilgrims, and also the center, an entrepreneurship support center, which is which will be focused on rural and agri-food small businesses. Another one of the lines of actions I mentioned before was the grid access, the tenders for grid access. In this instance, how we are using the allocation of the connectivity to the electrical network we are conditioning the allocation of the electric availability to electric connection to the connection to the electric network to a socioeconomic and environmental benefit criteria to the areas affected. That means you're more probably usually when you allocate this the access to the network, you will usually you will usually give allocate the access give the access to the company that requests the access first. In this case, we are going to prioritize those companies that have plans to promote and to help out small businesses and who have environmental action, who will take environmental actions in the area. And lastly, we'd like to mention also a program that we started 2 years ago that I didn't mention before, which is a program to revitalize the territories, but culturally and touristically. In this program, we are going to be putting into contact both artists that reside in just transition areas and the local authorities in these areas, so that we can they can organize art performances in these areas in order to bring new tourism and people to visit the area. Overall, I wanted to dedicate this last slide to our experience, the lessons we've learned promoting small businesses in the just transition areas. We think it's important to add clauses and criteria in tenders and grants to support the smaller municipalities, because otherwise it's mostly going to go to the more urbanized areas. I think it's important to add criteria to promote social sustainability when allocating resources, such like in the tenders, electrical tenders. We've also found that it's important to train and give training and upskilling on new opportunities to the local agents and to entrepreneurs. And another two lessons that we've learned is that it's important to give advisory services to the entrepreneurs regarding their business plans and aid applications. Otherwise, most of the grants are going to go to the bigger companies who know how to draft the business plans, and know which key points and which keywords to use in order to gain the approval of the evaluation committees. Lastly, we think it's helpful to include a local intermediary who understands the area and who can convey the needs of the territory in general. And that's it. Thank you very much for letting us participate. I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Marta and César. I don't know if somebody has a question, maybe? Otherwise, if it's okay for you, César, Marta, Patricia, we will share your email and your presentations to the assistants, so they can maybe ask in private or whatever. If you want to use the chat, right now it's okay, or later on by email. I want to thank you, César, because I took a note on one thing you said, that we are always thinking about transition solar panels. And the thing that you said, that first try to reduce your demand. It's the first time I hear about that, and I will keep that in mind for my personal life and my professional life, because I think it's a really good advice.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that there are specific European directives talking about that. Just try first to reduce your demand and then pay attention how to fulfill this energy supply, right?
Yeah, so thank you so much. Maybe you mentioned that there are two narratives, the EU narrative and the population, the local community narrative, and a lot of time they differ. What are the main 2-3 aspects in which they differ? They are different. They don't listen to each other. What will be the top?
I think that for me, maybe this is the most relevant aspect, because any kind of initiatives affecting any local ecosystems, like a local community, have to be in consensus with the local community. And we consider that the local community, people themselves have to be involved in the loop from the beginning. In fact, creating it in the ideation aspect of the initiative. And this is a good example coming from Marta, explaining these grid connection hubs, more or less, Marta, because if we involve people from the beginning in this ideation process, if you are able to engage people from the beginning, probably you had more rate of your successful rate at the end should be biggest to achieve the implementation of the project in this local environment. If not, probably the citizens or the local association can be against the implementation of the project. And we have several examples here, right? Talking about wind farms, talking about batteries installation, which is not quite close to the people come behind against the project. So this is important to, and this is why we talk with people. We discovered that the message coming from Europe, to our policy makers and in our policy instrument can be different from the narrative or the relate coming from the people. So we need to convert that. Three main aspects. I think that first we need communicate well the main goals, the final objective of the transition. And we have to be sure that everybody are in the same ship, you know, and understanding and accepting this rule of the play. If not, we can start to find out some difficulties to manage this project. Second, we need to engage people in the loop. Citizens have to be in the loop. And we try to explain, probably people is more difficult to support European initiatives or national initiatives, but it's quite easy to involve people in local, in the same condominium initiatives or in the same village initiative, because they feel that my role is clear. I know people know me, so I feel enough confident to promote my ideas because I'm feeling that my works is recognized by my community. So it's a good way to engage people. And this is the key point, that citizens have to be involved from the beginning. And the first most important, not the first point, can be that people feel that some of the budget, some of the funding are focused on them. So it's something like, this is my village, this is my territory, this is my land, let's see. So please, if you are going to act, you are going to invest in my land, in my territory, please at least listen my opinion about that. So the idea that this project, this initiative is incorporating, taking into account the opinion of the people is very important. So I think that this, keeping in mind these three aspects, we can align and converge both narratives.
Just to finish it practical, since there are no question, I think if you want to ask something, remember you can raise your hand, your online hand. And just one more question, since we are all part of that population, of that people on the territories, what is the practical way? How can we be heard by those organizations, by the policymaker? What is the practical way to be heard?
Now, if maybe Marta or Patricia, do you like to answer this question?
Mm-hmm.
We think it's through public participation processes. Like we calling public participation processes and meeting with the local agents to let them speak up and share their view and their needs with whatever organization is involved.
Okay, then we are past the time, the finish time. So
I think that's, yeah. Excuse me, just a comment, Olaya, supporting the Marta and Patricia comment, but because sometimes it's quite easy to include some specific, Marta say before in her presentation, can be include easily some specific line test in the tenders or in the calls to ensure that these funds can be oriented to the small village, small municipalities, and not only for the big player, let's see. So this is because they are listening people, involving the people opinion, and not only citizens, also local authorities, small local authorities, to be into account this aspect. Sorry, Olaya. I know that you're out of time.
It's really interesting. Thank you for the comment. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope to see all of you next week in the third seminar of the SUSRUR training program. Nothing more to add on my side. Just wish you a nice day and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and thank you, Marta and Cesar. I forgot to thank you for your amazing presentation. Sorry.
Thank you,
Thank
Elsa.
you so much, the three of you, and yeah, and for answering all the questions. We will be sharing your presentation and your emails for further questions. And right now, yeah, that's all. Have a nice day and see you soon. I hope to continue collaborate with you all. Bye.
Have a nice
Thanks.
day.
Thank you.